We start the game in a prologue. We're seemingly dreaming, and much like you'd expect from a dream, there's lots of stuff going on, but none of it seems to make much sense. But it does feel like someone is trying to tell us something. We then wake up, or rather, Melusine wakes up. She feels strange after experiencing this dream, like it was trying to speak to her in some way, to give her a message from someone she might know. But then she shakes her head, trying to avoid those thoughts. Allow me to take a moment to introduce Melusine. To do this, I'll be reading a segment from her character introduction from the Unichan demo thread off the Lemmasot forums. Melusine, the girl named after some kind of European mermaid, never liked her name. Kids always made fun of her, since she liked to sing. But she sang very badly. The kids in school would say to her that she could just send sailors away with her voice, instead of attracting them. Considering those events, Melusine never sang again. But the dream lies in her still, so she always dressed like a little fairy or a princess so she could feel special, despite her name issue. Jumping back into Unichan, we learn that today is a special day for Melusine. She takes a look at herself in the mirror to make sure everything is perfect. She has her wings, her cute costume made by her mom, and her lovely bonnet with lovely paws. She leaves home and tries to organize all of her plans for what she's going to do today. After going to the amusement park, she was going to play with the little turtles at the zoo near her house, and they'd start their afternoon races. The turtles loved it, but they always lost. Afterwards, she planned to feed the dove some bread, even though she knew that migratory species shouldn't eat it, but they just like it so much that she couldn't help but want to feed them. Anyway, she thought she could start her day at the park by riding the roller coaster, but maybe not because she had a fear of heights. But then again, she realizes that today isn't the day to feed the monster of fear. Fear not, do or do not, something like that. On her way to the park, she greets all the little houses. They always seem scared with their alarmed window eyes, but Melusine thought that was kind of funny. She always thought of the houses like couples, since they're always here together looking at each other. Lost in thoughts, Melusine accidentally bumps into an old grandma, but quickly apologizes, thinking to herself that the grandma must be feeling hot since she was all sweaty on this sunny day. And this is when we learn that it's actually Melusine's birthday. And even though it's a really hot day, Melusine says that today being her birthday should make it one of the coolest days of the year. As Melusine continues on her journey to the park, we learn that the name of this park is Fable Realm, a place where fables happen. Today is also the first time her mom has allowed her to go to this amusement park. Her sister, Ondine, used to go all the time and tell stories about the attractions, clowns, and even the talking unicorns. The story of the talking unicorns especially interested Melusine. Ondine said that every kid up to 10 years old could talk to the unicorns, so her and her sister managed to convince their mother to let Melusine go to the park before she turned 10. Ondine is now 16 years old and hasn't gone to the park in a long time. Melusine thinks that's because she can't listen to the unicorns anymore. Melusine is stunned when she reaches the park. Despite it being in broad daylight, the park still seems to outshine everything around it. The merry-go-round is the first thing she notices, but that's probably because it's their most popular attraction. We learn here that Ondine was going to accompany Melusine on her trip to the park, but she was still asleep by the time Melusine had awoken. And strangely, Ondine was also muttering some strange unknown things in coded languages while sleeping. Apparently Ondine would often call it the language of sleep. Despite her efforts, Melusine had given up on trying to wake her sister, but knew she'd still have lots of fun, even if her sister wasn't there. She follows the path of the yellow painted bricks into the park, trying her best to absorb everything around her, when she hears a strange call, a whisper even. Oh, she has wings. Perhaps they were talking about Melusine's wings. They are really nice after all. She turns towards the merry-go-round, where the whisper had come from, but doesn't see anyone. Maybe she's just hearing things. She takes a closer look at the static unicorns that populate the carousel. Hey little girl, do you want to take a ride? An old man suddenly speaks out, excited by Melusine's interest in the merry-go-round. A large smile hides behind the old man's beard, which brings a smile to Melusine's face as well. The old man insists that Melusine rides the carousel, leading her towards the smallest and possibly the cutest unicorn they have. While all the other unicorns have an aura of majesty and nobility, this one looks adorable and docile. For a moment, when Melusine's eyes met his, she got this funny feeling, that kind that you feel for the first time when eating something delicious, perhaps the feeling of eating your favorite pudding. The old man helps her on top of the most beautiful baby unicorn to ever exist, who also seems happy with her presence. Melusine shakes the wings of her costume, cheering as she repeatedly shouts "Yip yip yip yip," both her arms raised up as she jumps on top of the poor unicorn. She realizes that she might be hurting the little unicorn, so she stops all the jumping, but her excitement is still visible. "Are you comfortable, little one? I've never ridden any kind of horse before, let alone a horned one. I can never imagine that a unicorn's hair could be so soft to the touch," she says as she hugs and ruffles the unicorn's soft fur. At this point, the game gives us a little more insight on Melusine. She explains that she believes that every little thing in the universe has a life, so when she seemingly talks to herself, she's actually talking to them. She uses the phrase, "they just don't like to talk much," to use our language. She uses the merry-go-round unicorns and teacups as an example. They're always spinning and complaining to themselves, but never letting anyone know. They just keep quiet all the time. But if they can hear her and knew she cared for them, she believes they'd be relieved. To Melusine's surprise, the unicorn actually begins to speak with her. Do you know that I'm alive?" She's taken aback, recalling what Ondine had said, but still having a hard time believing it, believing that it was actually happening. She slapped herself in the face a couple times just to make sure she wasn't dreaming this. The unicorn, however, is scared as he watches Melusine practically screaming while questioning him if he really was alive and talking, worried that Melusine might bring too much unneeded attention to themselves. He gestures for Melusine to lower her voice, managing to calm her down from her excitement. Melusine couldn't believe that Ondine was actually telling the truth when she told her about the speaking unicorns. She told her to look for the talkative unicorns, and here she is talking to a unicorn. A meeting that can only happen in a fairy tale, bound by destiny. The unicorn assures her that he can definitely speak, but isn't quite sure about this whole destiny thing. He simply never spoke until now, since he never really had a reason to speak, despite having such a delightful voice. However, he simply couldn't stop himself when he realized that Melusine possessed wings. That Melusine was the first he has ever encountered to have wings and the ability to speak. He's tried speaking to pigeons and other birds, but they weren't very helpful. In fact, they could outright be violent sometimes. Melusine nodded, understanding that pigeons could definitely be that way. "Pigeons sometimes look at me as if they want to steal my bread. I usually give them some. The best answer is not to care much about their anger. They are great friends when you're patient with them." Melusine didn't quite understand why they were talking about this, but she felt it was very easy to talk to the friendly unicorn. Maybe he was just a little bit lost. But she isn't surprised, with this unicorn likely being the only one of his kind. Still, despite being confused about this whole situation, here she is talking to a unicorn, when she thought the most exciting part of her day was going to be racing with the turtles. She asks the unicorn why he's looking for someone with wings and the ability to speak. The unicorn seems afraid to answer, but Melusine assures him that he can trust her. That's when the unicorn reveals that he's always wanted to know a flying type, one that he could talk to so he could learn to fly, because, well, he also wants to fly. Melusine is confused by this. He thinks I can fly. How could I fly? Does he think my wings are real? Oh my god, maybe he would have had more luck with the pigeons. She laughs nervously, but she didn't want to see his sad face. She didn't want him to lose his hopes and dreams. He was so happy to have found her. But she can't fly. She can't give him the skies that he wants. She's just a regular human. "Oh, how lucky you are! I am the only one in my neighborhood who knows how to fly. I was taught by my ancestors. My grandma taught me this occult practice a long time ago." Melusine was certain that she was crazy. The words just jumped out of her mouth. It's just that this unicorn is the first being that she's felt so comfortable with in a long time. She couldn't let him down. However, she knew she couldn't lie to him either, but he just looked so happy. "Seriously? You can actually fly? This is marvelous. Are you willing to teach me? Is it possible?" The unicorn was ecstatic, promising when he finally leaves this park, he'll definitely learn from Melusine. He offers his hoof to her, and she leans her pinky on it, like making a promise, an oath, that she would probably never be able to keep. We're left with Melusine giving us her final thoughts. "I felt so bad. Why wasn't I born with wings that could actually touch the skies? I couldn't let his happiness go away like this." After that, I bid him goodbye. I promised I would return at night to the park to put our plan into action. It is a somewhat risky plot, but I felt I owed him at least my loyalty, since I had lied so much and promised such things that I don't even know how to fulfill. But I have to keep my promises. I wouldn't let my friend be without his wings.